When you get to a point in a relationship where you have hit the person, when you get to a point in your relationship where you have reached a place of cursing, using profanity, yelling, screaming, crying, punching walls, slapping them, scratching them. When you reach that point in the relationship where you are so out of character, it's time to go. You've cast your pearls before swine. You know, the Bible speaks about in the book of Matthew, it says, do not cast your pearls before swine. You know, pearls are very precious. Pearls are very, very precious. And if you really study how pearls are created, it's really when debris and things get into the mouth of an oyster, and what happens is a pearl is developed with the oyster basically trying to get the debris out. And there's so many parts to it, but basically what happens in an attempt to get rid of the debris and anything that gets into the shell, it creates through a process that's too long for me to explain, and plus I don't remember all of it. What happens is, in an attempt to extract it, get rid of it, it begins, the oyster does all these things, and a pearl is produced. And if you look at it, for us, a pearl is beautiful. It's priceless. It is something that is very rare. You know, it's different between an actual pearl and a cultured pearl, you know? So we're going to talk about that. So this precious jewel that is created, a precious, you know, thing that we love to wear, some of us, it is now cast before someone who's unworthy, and it's trampled underfoot because the value and the effort that it took to create that pearl is not valued. And there's some of you that you're in relationships where you're with a person that you have been patient. You are not an abuser. You're not even normally this way. I'm not making an excuse for this behavior. There still is accountability for doing it. But I want you to understand that when you are a person and you've been with somebody who continually does things against you, they continually do things to hurt you, harm you, disrespect you, ignore you. They are cheating on you. They are lying to you. They are abusing you. They are speaking to you with disrespect. That all consideration has been lost. They know that pressing A is something that pains you and hurts you, and they will press A over and over and over again. Step on it. Say, "Oh, I didn't know. You didn't tell me. You wasn't clear that A bothered you," and they keep doing it, and then all of a sudden they're wearing a t-shirt with A and they're pressing A with other people and saying, "You didn't tell me." And after a while they're like, "What's your problem? You need to get over this. I like A and that's what it is." This is the disposition of such an individual, this behavior. And so what happens, you have to understand that when you are in a situation that is toxic, or a person that is evil, a person that is inconsiderate to you over and over again, eventually that is going to deplete your spirit. And I'm going to tell you what the word says about that. In Proverbs chapter 13 and 12, it says, "Hope deferred maketh the heart sick, but when the desire comes, it is a tree of life." We're going to talk about that first part that says, "Hope deferred maketh the heart sick." When you're in a relationship where you're hoping and they're promising you to change, and when you're hoping that things will get better, and they continue to do certain things over and over again to you, it's going to make your heart sick. Now, sometimes physically, you can have heart problems and anxiety and depression. It can affect you physically, but we're talking about spiritually. You become sick. You're no longer as happy. You're no longer as bright. You no longer have the desire to do the things that you used to do, because your hope in this relationship, your hope in this person, your hope in the change of the circumstance, their promises to you continues to be deferred. and you are going to change. I want to read you also in Proverbs 12, verse 4, and it says, "A virtuous woman is a crown to her husband, but she that maketh ashamed is as rottenness in his bones." Whether it's a woman or it's a man, a person that is a person that brings you shame and hurt is going to be like rottenness to your bones. And if you think about it, if your bones, think of the importance of your bones. It's the whole structure on which we can stand and do things. It's a source of strength. Without your bones, will be a pile of mush. If there's rottenness within it, you're no longer going to be able to do certain things. It's going to cause pain. It's going to spread. You're not going to function properly. And when you're with a person that continues to be toxic and bleed and stain you, and you're trying to love on them and they're just destroying it, and you're trying to give them love, and you're trying to give them patience, and you're trying to give them understanding, but what they're giving you is rottenness. What they're giving you is hope deferred. What they're doing is Proverbs 18 and 21 that says death and life is in the power of the tongue, and those that love it will eat the fruit thereof. But they're not giving you life, they're giving you death. They're speaking lies, and lying to you is death. Speaking death, playing mind games with you is speaking death. Telling you that you're crazy, you're paranoid is speaking death. Making you feel that you are being over the top is speaking death. And those that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. You may not love the way that they're treating you, but you love them and you keep hanging around them. So therefore, when they're speaking death in your life, you are going to begin to experience the ramifications of it. And what begins to happen? You have cast your pearls before swine. You've cast your love. You've cast your giving heart. You've cast your patience before this person. You have cast your understanding. You've cast long suffering. You've cast understanding. You've cast forgiving them over and over again. You've done this. You've tried to understand. You caught them red-handed, and they promised you. They gave you some more hope, which they deferred to, and you continue to be there. And now you're at a place where you are so done inside that now you're a place where because now you've cast your pearls before swine, and there's rottenness to the bones, and now you're eating on the fruits of death that they're bringing to you, and the hurt and the pain in your heart, and your heart is sick. Now you begin to lash out. And you may lash out by yelling, screaming, cursing, being just as ugly as they are. And in the worst case scenarios, now you have reached a place where you've lashed out, you've punched the wall, you've pushed, you've hit, you've slapped, you've attacked him. He's come home late again, and he's laughing at you, and all you can do is hit him. He's insulting you, and all you can do is scratch him. It's time to go. It's time to go, sweethearts. It's time to leave. You have cast your pearls before swine. And what normally happens in those situations? Now they feel validated. There's even ground. You see, when they're doing you wrong, they feel wrong about it. But when you give them fuel and you allow them to be, when you allow yourself to act out of sorts, you're cursing and you're hitting and you're being ugly. You're speaking their language. And now it makes them feel better, because now they can capitalize this and drag you down in the mud with them. You're no better than me. And that one thing that you did is not going to become the epitome of the whole relationship, and why they can't act right and why they can't do right by you. And it's always going to be brought up, will be regurgitated, because it's all that they have. And this is important because it's important for them to keep their position and keep living the life that they want to live, and keep this other man or woman in their life, or keep the many men and women they have in their lives, and continue in their unseemly behavior. So now they extract something from you. They capitalize on your pain, and it becomes a problem. You will quickly realize that, oh no, they're not going to tolerate what you have tolerated. They will call the police. They are going to make it known on Facebook. They're going to go and tell the church, because it's important that they capitalize on what you have done to hide their hands. But God sees what they do, and that's what's important. Life has a way of coming around full circle. People call it karma. But what the Bible says is the wages of sin. What you sow, you're going to reap it. You know, the Bible says it's going to come back. Good measure, give, and it shall be given to you. Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Whether that's good, it could be blessings if you're doing positive things. But I'm here to tell you, sin and evil and wickedness is going to come back. And a lot of times people don't realize certain things have come back. Oh, you got to go to the doctor for this happens. Sometimes people don't realize something has come back to them. Sometimes things have come back because you're raising up wicked and entitled children like yourself. And something happened, God forbid, to these people's children because they are sinning. And God has a way when he's getting ready to give that judgment, it's going to come in many different ways. And what does that mean? Is God trying to pick off your children? No. When you're evil and you're wicked, God may give these individuals some grace so they can get it right. But if they continue, he just allows the evil that they run with to now be able to torment them and destroy them. If you sow the evil, you're going to reap it. So what happens, these individuals are very happy when you get out of sorts, and now they want to label you. Now she is going to run to the church and say you're an abusive husband because she wants to be with Brother James. And she can divorce you, and she's going to go and say all these things, and he is going to go to the church and paint this picture of you being an out of control, crazy, a mental wife. When in fact, they have been the one abusing you all along. And the minute you snap off, my daughter, the minute you snap off, ladies, snap off, men, sons, what's going to happen? They run with that. Because they have to slash you. They have to spray paint your character all over the place and say you're this way so they can continue to behave as they are. So now when they reject you as they've always been doing before, now they feel more justified in it. But I want to tell you right now, you need to hold fast to God. Remove yourself from those situations. You've cast your pearls before swine. Sometimes you have already been in a place where you were doing well in your life, and this person comes and destroys everything you worked so hard to produce. As I told you, the process of pearls is when things have happened, things have infiltrated that shell, and they work and work and work to get it out, and it becomes something beautiful. And some of you have gone through things in your life, and God has kept you, and he helped you along the path, and you've gone through some things in your life, and you had to face some things, and you grew into something beautiful. All those things within you, God brought your beauty, and it became ashes, and you worked hard, and you overcame all the debris that was sent to just turn you into a junkyard, and you developed that into a beautiful pearl. And somebody sees you and go, I want that. He or she saw you. I'm interested in him. I'm interested in her. Beautiful flower. I want to pick it. I want to pick it from the garden it was in, but I'm not going to take care of it. I want this pearl, but I'm going to take it for granted because they don't care and they don't know the cost at which you became who you are. And so it's easy for them to destroy. But when that happens, guys, I want you to know that God is not mocked and he is not blind to what has happened to you. I want you to understand that I do not speak to you just as someone who the Lord has called to speak on these things, but someone who has experienced this. I've been there and I've done it. I've understood what it is to speak patiently and kind to a person, and they continue on in their ways. And then when you're yelling and you're screaming and you start cursing, you're a bad person. And guys, it took the Lord having to teach me some things. And one of the things that was very clear, get out of this, end this, because you have to realize and remember who you are. And don't allow a person and their nasty ways to come and stain you, pull you out of the place that you are in. Perhaps you used to be someone used to curse and scream and act up, but the Lord changed you. You became a better person. You became more measured, and your temperament was not like that. But then you get with someone who comes to bring out those things, to revive the dead things and to offset their behaviors on you. A child that's used to being abused, the person raised their hand, the abuser raises their hand and scratch their head. You see the child will flinch. That child is used to being hit. And so now when you become paranoid and you become a different person, and now you're yelling and you're screaming and you're cursing and you're crying, and they're going to capitalize that and say, oh, this is why I can't do right. And you're frustrating me. They were never going to do right. They weren't doing right when you were honest. They weren't doing right when you were loyal. They were not doing right and being respectful when you were being patient and kind. And the reason why that's happening is because they're becoming a rottenness in your bones. And when there's a rottenness within you, you are going to display rotten and uncouth behavior. Your heart is sick, and this is why you're behaving this way. I'm not making an excuse. You have no right to hit that person. You have no right to yell and scream. No, you don't. Because we have to also take accountability for how we got there in the first place. But with that being said, I'm here to encourage somebody that you understand, and you need to see clearly what's before you so that you do not put yourself in a place of shame and allow this person to capitalize on a moment of weakness, or this horrid person they have been very strategic in turning you into, as they continue to hurt you and hurt you and hurt you. It's like if there's a scab and someone keeps ripping it off and ripping it off and ripping it off and ripping it off, it's never healing. It's going to get ugly. It's going to be bothered. It's going to look worse. And so these individuals will capitalize on these moments that you had, and they say, oh, this is who you are. And so you will stay and you feel shame, or you are now becoming you are fighting with them like a rabid dog. Now you learn this is their love language. This is what they like. This is how they turn to you. You got to be a total jerk to them for them to respond. And that's because a lot of times they're abused, they're rejected, they grew up in a dysfunctional environment, and that's what they know. Have you ever been with a person where if you pay attention to them, they don't pay attention to you, but the minute you drop off and you're not calling them and you're not talking to them and you don't respond, they call you and they're running after you because they understand dysfunction. That is their love language. Have you ever noticed someone when you're kind to them, they don't understand it, but the minute you're cursing them and you're acting up, they draw to you. They love that because they are used to being abused. They're used to being mistreated. They're used to being talked down to. They're used to rejection, and they draw to rejection. But you don't want to become that person. That is not who God wants you to be. He does not want you to be bitten by this zombie walking around and you become like them. And I'm here to encourage you and let you know that whatever they're saying about you is not true. You were kind, you were patient, you were loving. Perhaps you used to be a certain way, but you were in a place of peace and you were doing well. But you stayed and you loved this person. And what you're guilty of is loving them without wisdom, loving them without discretion. You opened your heart completely to them, and what they did, they came in and they began to ransack your heart and take things for granted. And then now you're so hurt that you are retaliating, whether it's through yelling and hitting and punching and screaming and raging and doing it back to them. You are out of position. What has happened? You have cast your pearls before swine. I'm here to tell you, you have stayed too long in that situation, and it is time for you to go. Perhaps they've pressed charges on you. Deal with the consequences, learn from it, and get away from that person. Once you're in this place of behaving this way, you've got to go, because what's happening is this person operates through an unclean spirit. That's why they continue doing certain things. They say one thing, do something else tomorrow, and then promise you something else. They are unstable. They're what the Bible calls, they're like a city without walls. Anything goes. You're not protected. I don't care how much good times you have with this person. You are not protected. And I always give this example. You may say, oh, we have such great times. When it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. No, if it's good, it's not supposed to be bad. There are times when you may have challenges together, but it's not challenges. You're being run over. You're being beaten down, and you have got to understand the difference. And I would tell you, may say, oh, he's nice, she's sweet, she has some good ways, but you can put those good ways will be like having a house and it has a bunch of beautiful, nice things in it. And you think of all the good ways and the favorite things they bought you and that wonderful stuff and the good times you have. And you imagine this house that has all this great stuff in it, but there's no rooftop, there's no doors, there's no locks on the doors. Anybody can walk in. There is no glass, there's no windows in, there's no security. So anybody could come in and take it at any moment. Things can happen. And that's basically what that relationship would be. Don't be fooled by those little sedatives of good times, sedatives of good sex, sedative of sweet nothing, sedatives of that time when we had this wonderful time, the sedatives of when you're getting ready to leave and make up your mind and suddenly they're so sweet. Don't be lost and don't get distracted by that. That is the way the enemy keeps you in. And if you stay in this relationship, you'll find yourself becoming a bitter and hardened person. You probably don't even recognize yourself anymore, feeling shame for how you reacted, looking at how your skin has become sallow, looking at how bitter you've become, looking at how much weight you've lost, how much your hair has fallen out your head, because this person is a stressor. And so now they're going to say how ugly you look or how fat you got or how you're so jealous and you're so insecure and you're so this and you're so that and you're so evil and you're so wrong and you're violent, and you know that you are not, but you're around a person that is leaking that darkness in you. And the Bible says, how can two be together unless they agree? Because the more you stay with that person, the more you're going to become like them. You're going to be retaliating. Even if it's protection, you're still retaliating. The Bible says, blessed is the man that walks not in the counsel of the ungodly, nor stand in the way of sinners, nor sit in the seat of the scornful. Why? Because to sit with them would be to be cursed. To walk with them is to be cursed. To take their counsel and to listen to the things that they say is to be cursed. And I will tell you, if you look in Deuteronomy chapter 28, you will see what a cursed person, their behavior, your life begins to fall apart. You begin to just go down this road and down this hole that you shouldn't be in. And I want you to understand that you should not accept whatever they want to call you. God is calling you out of that. Remove yourself from such a person. The minute you're yelling, the minute you're screaming, the minute you have raised your hand, the minute you've had to push her off because she's trying to fight you, you need to get away from her. Because the minute you know she's going to be putting charges on you, the next thing you know, you become so angry you hurt her, you kill her. Next thing you know, you become so angry you hit that man in a way that you take his life or you incapacitate him. You don't want to be in that situation where you get so mad that now you're going after the other woman, or you're going after person, or it is in your mind to kill yourself to make him feel sorry because he's not going to do it. You need to save yourself and cry out to God and ask him to make a way out of no way so that you can move on with your life. I always tell people, if you're at a certain age, you're under 28 years old, you can join the military. Get in there. I always tell people that. I'm not saying God's saying that you should do that. I give you my opinion. I've been in the military. I retired and everything. You don't have anybody to help you. You don't have this before you go gangbanging, before you go selling drugs, before you go doing this. You go and you see if you qualify to get into the military. You're going to have instant stability, instant job, instant training, instant ability for education, instant independence, all of that. And you can decide if you want to I think it's a minimum of 3 to 6 years, your first enlistment, but after you're done, you can decide if you want to go. But that will move you away from all that toxicity and put you focused. And when you're ready, you say, hey, I've done my time, I'm ready to go. But you will have some stability. And some of you, you don't have to do that. You have a job, you have things going on, but you're just tied up in somebody. Some of you, you're married to this person. God has not called you to be in an abusive relationship. And there are people that are walking around. You see, something happened to them, whether in their childhood or somewhere in their life, and they became this person. And a person that does not heal properly will heal in a way that's disjointed and crooked. And they can't seem to straighten up because they've had years of practice of being manipulating, of being deceiving, of being a trickster, of being a liar, of being, a harlot, this behavior, this Jezebel behavior, whether a man or woman, they've been doing it for so long, and you're trying to think you could love them, but they're impossible to love because they're not going to yield to you. They're not going to know how to love you because, number one, they're not receiving love from God. Sometimes they're bitter against God for things that have happened in their life, and others, they just simply rebel against God. They compartmentalize. And ironically enough, many of these people are going to church and singing and putting their grimy little sinful hands on the piano keys and doing these things while they are mistreating others in their lives. But I'm here to tell you, as I've been appointed by the Lord to speak to you, the minute it gets to violence and you're hitting and you're yelling, you're screaming, it is time to go. Do not accept what they're saying to you to say this is who you are. No, it's not. You are bleeding now. You are bleeding spiritually. You're reaching a point that you need to call out to God and ask Him to help you and step away from that and get back to the place so you can know who you are, because you're going to become someone that you don't even recognize. And if you don't stop, it's going to lead you to destruction. God has never left you. He'll never leave you. He'll never forsake you. He's always kept a light on for you. He's always got that door open for you. Return to Him. Step out of that situation. It's not too late. And do not accept the stamp that they're placing on you. Don't accept the scarlet letter they want to place on you to further imprison you and to further justify their behavior against you. The Lord has kept the light on for you. Come back home. This is not who you are.